Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I know it's been a bit. I really do. Just shoveled some breakfast down. Happy Saturday. And I've got some coffee here. Coffee week kind of took it out of me a little bit, but to be perfectly honest, that's not the reason why I haven't recorded anything for about a week and a half. I'll tell you what the reason is. I haven't recorded anything for a week and a half. Staring off camera here, I'm reviewing 2 candles today from Kringle. So 1, 2, and then I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I think I have 12, just 2 others just about to be done burning. 10 to 12 empties sitting off to the side that I have not reviewed. Okay. But frankly, with like 1 or 2 exceptions, really lackluster candles, really lackluster. Like to the point that I'm kind of like questioning my life choices, questioning certainly why I paid money for these candles, you know. It's okay if you have a few sprinkled in there that are like, I wouldn't buy that again, one and done, kind of disappointing. But when you have 10 or 12 in a row, like I said, that becomes a questioning life choices kind of moment. And this is kind of the candle version of I shaved my legs for this, right? It's kind of like, do I really want to turn my camera on for these candles? I don't know what to say. I'm going to go ahead and review them. I guess this is my way of saying I have been burning candles. And all things being equal, I actually have a ton of candles that I can share with you. But they're not exciting. They're not candles I would repurchase. And so I just haven't been able to muster the energy to face you on camera and turn my lights on and be like, here we are. Here's this candle. So spoiler alert, like I said, with 1 or 2 exceptions, the next string of these candles are just kind of, hey, I burned this. And as Kent from Candle Channel would say, she exists. You know what I mean? Yikes. Oh no. And my light is having a lot of problems. All right, so pause for a second. Let me see if I can fix this. I think it's about time to get a new ring light. This one has been acting up. Hi, we're back. I should edit that out, but no, I'm not no, not worth it. Not worth it. Like I said, we're just in the quick and dirty kind of phase of these reviews. So I am heading to the glorious land of the magical land of Columbus, Ohio next week to visit family for Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you in advance. And I'm leaving on Tuesday morning, but let me see if I can record several videos here today on Saturday and tomorrow on Sunday so that I can kind of spread them out throughout the week. Happy Thanksgiving. You probably would rather have more special candles for Thanksgiving, but unfortunately, it's just going to be a string of some lackluster ones. So, starting it out with Kringle. Oh my God. It's been a while since I've burned Kringle. I did spring for some of their Halloween candles, really only 2 of them. And I have those 2 to show for you today. Guys, oh my gosh, in a weak moment, I actually ordered Kringle yesterday and I'm regretting it. I'm already regretting it. A lot of their candles are a really good sale right now because of like Black Friday, etc. A lot of them are clearance stuff at very good prices. Even some of the new releases for the fall and even for the holiday season, which is probably a bad sign. And even at a good price point, I'm to that place with Kringle where it's like, it doesn't matter what price point it is. It's just kind of throwing money away, you know? But my favorite cherry tree continues to be on clearance. I think it's been on clearance for like a year and a half, and it was $6. So I got lots of those, and my friends and family are gonna get some cherry trees this Christmas. I suspect they're not gonna like it because I now have a couple sisters who are basic gourmandies now. If it's not a cinnamon roll, they're not gonna like it, you know? So I suspect they're not gonna like cherry tree. But, you know, happy Christmas. Everyone gets a cherry tree this Christmas. And then I did order a few other little things from Kringle. I can't honestly. Oh, the winter woods, which I liked the way that the wax melts performed, or at least the way that they smelled. So I did get a 3-wick winter woods, and I got some of the wax melts of the holiday candles, but almost all of them, like even the brand ambassadors, are admitting that the strength and throw is weak. So, you know, I found, frankly, with the brand ambassadors that whatever they say, you need to divide it by 2. And that's about the performance that you're going to get. So I'm doing the math and it's not looking good. However, I do have a wax warmer now, and I found that like those wax warmers, you know, look, if you can get them at a decent price, which I didn't, it's not committing to a full candle, and it's a day or whatever else where you can just smell that fragrance and wonder if, you know, in a 3-wick or a 17-wick, maybe would I like this fragrance in a larger room? You know what I mean? So I do have some of those coming from Kringle, and I'll give you a haul when that happens. I ordered 2 of the Elton John from QVC. Probably also going to be extremely disappointing, but at $40 with shipping and handling included, I went ahead and went with the vanilla smoke because it looked like a candle up my alley, but who knows? So that will be coming as well. All right, so without further preamble, we have the 2 lone Halloween candles that I purchased from Kringle during the Halloween season. And they were from the Spellbound collection, which was this kind of like witchy magic collection with these beautiful like apothecary style black jars, which I think is fantastic. And they just went with kind of a tin lid, which is fine. They're a little hard to take off, at least the first time, but you know, it works well with the aesthetic. And I thought it was, yeah, I think it's really nice. And I had this one, which was Spirit's Call right here. And then this one right here, which is a Guardian's Vigil. And these 2 were considered, well, at least is it Spirit's Call? Let's see. Yeah. Spirit's Call was the most obviously Halloween in terms of its fragrance. So it was the one that sold out first amongst the collection. And right now for the Black Friday sale, they actually do have several Halloween candles that are clearanced off, not only from this collection, but also from their larger, you know, regular tumbler collection, which I think is kind of their marquee Halloween collection for the year. Not a great sign for them to be clearanced off. Yeah, just not a good sign. But I don't think it was a great Halloween season for them. Frankly, I don't know this year what has been great from Kringle. And I'll try to do probably a little bit of a year in review, something or other. But, you know, you're going to need to gird your loins for it because it's been a real rocky, rough year for Kringle. Probably their worst in recent past. So unfortunately, that did spill over even into their Halloween offerings, which are usually fantastic. Like you can go to the bank, you know, these candles are usually their best offerings. They're most innovative. They're most creative. They're most niche-y. Like this is really where Kringle shines in the year, I think. Their Halloween is always a slam dunk. And unfortunately this year it really wasn't. Generally speaking, because the fragrances that they chose were very unseasonal and were not crowd pleasers. Neither for the niche audience that does spooky Halloween candles or for the other audience that kind of just rides along because they like Kringle, but are really more gourmandy people. And, you know, if Kringle had been able to throw them a few more like pumpkin patchouli-ish kind of scents, I think that would have gone a long way. Unfortunately, it was a whole string of spring florals for the most part that just nobody could understand. They had a little bit of a mini scandal over the AI generated labels that they attributed to a creative artist. And I don't want to get bogged down into that controversy because I know that AI is just controversial across the board, especially where it comes to creative art. And I fully receive and accept that this creative artist did manipulate these images to some extent, but it seems as though very lightly manipulated what is general AI imaging for Halloween. And the fact that Kringle was charging a premium for them, again, it's just been a rough year for Kringle. And they continue to make kind of some poor marketing decisions, which only add fuel to the fire. Unfortunately, that was it. Their best collection was just their marquee regular collection that had the, the Carnage candle in it that smelled like blood and metal, Not for me, not for the faint of heart, but man, that core Halloween audience that often purchases from Kringle during this year and at no other time in the year, that candle was for them. And it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. There was one 6 feet under that was, just smelled of dirt, essentially. Again, these are a little bit on the novelty side, but Kringle does them so well. And they do have a small but mighty demographic that buys those candles. They're well known for it. It's niche-y. Kringle does those kinds of things so well. And they did have a few offerings this year that fit the bill and that were really fantastic. Those two stood out for me. I didn't obviously purchase them. Unfortunately, that was kind of the best of the bunch. Then they had this Spellbound collection here, which I think that theoretically and in concept is fantastic. It got a lot of flack actually from the consumers, and I suspect from the consumers who are not like the niche Halloween people, but the gourmandy cinnamon roll crowd. They did not like these candles at all because of the witchy black magic vibes, and they thought that it was satanic and didn't want to bring it into their house, etc. Frankly, I didn't understand, and I don't mean any disrespect to all of you out there who felt that kind of way. Obviously, it's your house, and you're a free person in this country. You're a free consumer, and you're a free consumer to like voice your opinions and not purchase. I totally offer that to you. I respect that. I really do. And I'm a Christian woman myself, so I don't go in for like dark magic or witches or whatever else. But like Kringle has been doing this for years and years. I mean, if you're not okay with this, like certainly you're not okay with like the undead collections that we've had for years and years. I mean, you guys know what it is. I don't really feel like this is crossing some sort of line that some bright red line here. I mean, if you're going to have a candle called Carnage or 6 feet under or It's Alive or I don't know what else, The Ring Girl, I mean, this may not be your holiday and this may not be your collection. That's fine. But I don't understand why this really seemed to have crossed the line for a lot of people. Like I said, I'm a good Christian woman and I'm here to tell you these candles have no power. The witches have no power. The chants have no power. Seriously. I think it fits very well within the Halloween aesthetic, and I think a lot of people would really go for it. Again, your niche Halloween crowd is probably going to think this is fantastic, and it really is. I think they did a great job in terms of packaging and aesthetics. It makes a lot of sense. The branding makes sense. The little like chants at the back makes sense, and they're very thoughtfully for the most part, they were thoughtfully paired up with particular fragrances. I mean, there were some little tweaks that I would have made. So for instance, there was one that was like Hexes on Your Exes, which is a fantastic name, right? And it was all about like wreaking or calling down like negative consequences on somebody who has jilted you or whatever, right? And that particular fragrance was like a very like traditional deep rose scent. Again, there was a lot of attention to pair the rose with the romantic theme. Somebody did say, and I agree, that like maybe that rose should have been a lot darker than it was. It was a pretty sweet traditional rose. And the whole vibe there was like romance, bad romance gone wrong. So, I mean, yeah, there could have been some tweaking there, but what I appreciate is there really was in that collection some thought given to the fragrance notes, along with like the marketing, the packaging, the vibe, the intention. And that has not always been the case for Kringle and other companies, by the way. I don't want to just call out Kringle. Like Bath & Body Works has done some like crazy shit recently too. And Homeworks probably does too, although Homeworks less so, but yeah, there are, oh, and Yankee Candle just takes the cake, right? Yankee Candle is where we have originated the random pairings. So, like I said, not Kringle's exclusively their problem here, but I do appreciate that the Spellbound collection was fairly thoughtful. Like I said, got panned for some kind of like religious hang-up reasons, and I'm not really sure why, because like I said, Kringle has been in this like really dark Halloween game for a while, and they do other things too. So God bless, you know? Yeah. The other thing with this collection, which I'm less happy about, is that they came, by the way, I burned these all the way down to the wick clips, and you're welcome, because that was hours and hours and hours and weeks of my life. These are really huge. It takes them a long time. Man, I've become a real strict medium person at this point, right? And then especially if the candle isn't performing, it's just like, I can't. Yeah, welcome to my life over the last 3 weeks with all of these candles, some of which are Yankees. And they're huge tumblers, and they're even worse. Oh my gosh, I can't. At least with the Bath & Body Works and Homeworks, if they're lackluster candles, they're multiple wicks, like you can usually hate burn them out of your house fairly quickly. But man, when they're these traditional tumblers, ooh. All right, anyway, the other little thing that these candles offered to the consumer was these fancy crystals. I don't know if you can see those. These fancy crystals that were just kind of placed right on top of the candle. And they were stuck in so that they weren't like loose, you know, initially. And you did have to use like a little knife or a little fork and kind of just pry them out, you know, if you wanted to not burn it with the crystals. If you wanted to burn it with the crystals, that would have been totally fine though. They just would have sunk to the bottom and, you know, whatever else. I took them out because it's gimmicky and I don't really need that. And I just didn't really want them all in the wax. So I pried them out. There were lavender ones for the Guardian's Vigil, and then there were black ones for the Spirit's Call. So I did take those out. I mean, neither candle, spoiler alert, performed particularly well in terms of strength and throw. And so there's part of me that's like, save the crystals, hold the crystals, and give me some decent strength and throw. Is that too much to ask? I really think that those kinds of, I like a nice slick packaging. Like, I think this is great marketing and great packaging, but when you start adding those gimmicky things like crystals on top, you lost me a little bit, and I'm beginning to wonder, how much did you pay for that? Like, save that money and put it into the quality of the candle itself. You know, it's a little bit, it becomes a little bit, or you worry that it has become, what do they say on British Bake Off? Style over substance. That's what Paul Hollywood said. Style over substance. You don't want that. You don't want that. I know that Greg from All About Candles has said something similar about sometimes the fancy lids that Bath & Body Works does, you know? You start getting these really expensive packages, And then when it comes down to it, you're pretty convinced that the candle itself was an afterthought. We're gonna call that style over substance. If you end up getting a great candle underneath all of that, it's kind of a cherry on the cake and kind of like a surprise, a pleasant surprise. But when companies are adding those other elements, they're subtracting somewhere else. You know what I mean? Especially if they're not passing a high premium price point wise onto the consumer. So I didn't love the fact that these crystals were in here. I could have done away with that. I think it was just one too many things. As Chanel says, take one thing off, right? They had the labels, they had the chants, they had the black, they had the tin, like leave it at that. I knew the crystals were theoretically like also very on brand for this intention, but I don't think they needed it. I don't think they needed it, and I think it was a little too much. And when you're struggling with the impression with your consumers that the strength and throw is not there, that the quality of your candle is not there, don't, again, add fuel to the fire with kind of gimmicky stuff, right? We don't want crystals. We want an excellent candle. Okay, so preamble over there. Both of these candles are sold out online. So again, this review is kind of unnecessary, but I burned it and I suppose I should say what it is. So I couldn't even find the list of notes anymore for these two candles. I'm prepared to just tell you how it is that they smelled, but very helpfully, these did have some like notes listed on the bottom. They're not dedicated top, mid, and base, but I think they're pretty representative of what's in the candle. So Spirit's Call was one that was very spooky Halloween. A lot of the candles, even in this particular collection, were not terribly spooky. So like the Hexes on My Exes, for instance, with the rose, it was really just kind of a traditional red rose fragrance. Not really something that you would smell and think, oh, this is spooky, right? This is the candle in the collection, though, that was pretty spooky, pretty spooky. Ooh, it's dark, it's funky, it's smoky. And it's not just woody smoky, it's like funky woody smoky. Like very acquired taste, which is like very much within the ballpark of a Halloween candle. So the notes on this one are smoked pumpkin, weirdly. I just cross out the pumpkin. You're getting smoke. Smoke, guaiac wood. Guaiac wood can have a very like funky wood smell, clove wood, cedar wood, and autumn patchouli. So you've got the patchouli and the guaiac wood, and I think there's a great deal of patchouli in here up against the guaiac wood, which is also kind of like funky, and then smoke over the whole thing. And it is slightly off-putting, I'm not gonna lie to you. There is this note that goes a little bit savory, a little bit barbecue meat-like, that I don't love personally. Yeah, and I'm smelling some clove too, but usually when we smell clove, it's usually added with some amount of sweetness to it, even in incense that has a sweet aspect to it, or like a cinnamon or a nutmeg or something sweet, right? This is a clove note that just is with the smoke and the wood, and it's very savory, almost salty. So think like cloves in ham or something like that, you know? I actually think that a little bit of sweetness would not have gone remiss here if there was a sweet vetiver that could have been added, or a clary sage or something, because I just don't love the like barbecue smell personally, but maybe some people do. And what I appreciate about this is that there is a dryness to this candle. So the patchouli that they've used is not so damp and musty that it goes to that kind of Halloween place. And I do like that because it can just get really gross when it goes super wet, super damp, and then with all of those smells, right? This is a very like wood sauna dry kind of vibe, but it's got the funkiness and it's got a lot of smoke, and it just stays in a very savory, warm, almost salty place. I didn't love it. I did think it was a little bit unpleasant, but it wasn't a lot unpleasant, you know? I mean, it wasn't like black cats and bats unpleasant. And it wasn't like the warm and toasty unpleasant either. Like, I'm not getting necessarily a burnt rubber or plastic or sulfur smell here. And I could see that if you put this in the right open concept area, I think Melanie like put it outside on her deck, where she has a beautiful wood fireplace. I think that would be a great place for it. I just didn't love my house smelling like it, but I don't know that I'm the audience for this fragrance either. So, it is a wood and smoky fragrance, and I'm usually into those. I'm into the herbals. I don't mind a little bit of funkiness. I love a little bit of musk. For me, this was just over the line into unpleasant category. But like I said, I think that was somewhat intentional, and it's a Halloween candle, so God bless. In terms of performance, like, it burned perfect. It was fine. If there's soot here, and there is a little bit of discoloration in the wax, it was minimal, but I certainly can't see it with the black tinting here of this glass. It was semi-opaque, so you could definitely see the light through it once it was burning, but it was a pretty dark semi-opaque. In terms of strength and throw, it did okay. It did okay. This is a 2-wick. I would say that in the back bedroom, I could certainly get it up to like a 6.5, probably. May have been a 7. It certainly felt like a 7 because it was kind of an unpleasant fragrance, to be honest. I don't know that it really got up to a 7, even in the back bedroom. And the open concept, it was kind of coming in at a 5, which again is not bad given that it's a pretty acquired taste kind of fragrance and heavy and like weird. So I just think that 5 on this candle is going to seem like an awful lot more to people who don't love it, including myself. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it was actually a 7. I think it was probably in the 5 range. And I do think that to get it up to 5, 5.5, 6.5 in your back bedroom, I mean, you do have to, it's a heavy soy formula. It's 100% soy formula. You do need to burn it for about 4 or 5 hours to get it even up to that place. So there's that as well. But it definitely had better strength and throw, probably given the fragrance profile, than this next one, which was Guardian's Vigil. Guardian's Vigil I enjoyed much more because it's a much more pleasant fragrance. So this is the one with the amethyst stones in it, and it burned very similar, maybe a little bit cleaner, to be honest. Yeah, and I burned this one all the way down. So the notes on this one are patchouli, spice, fir resin, herbal, just generic, amber, and green, again, generic. So this is an interesting fragrance. It does have a very, especially on cold, a very funky patchouli note in it, combined with, I think, something else, and I don't know what it is. It is almost a little bit like guaiac wood, but not as much wood as In Spirit's Call. Yeah, it's definitely got a funky base. There's no question. But then there's a great amount of sweetness and creaminess to this candle as well. So while unlisted, I'm getting a lot of maybe something that could be tonka bean-ish. And then something which I think is a lavender. And they just say herbal here, so I don't know what kind of herbal. It could be a touch of clary sage, but I think it is herbal. And it's a very kind of cool herbal, but up against what is that creamy note, which could be either a sandalwood, but I think probably a tonka bean. The creaminess with that like kind of cool herbal is actually kind of a really nice thing. The creaminess warms it up just enough, you know, and sweetens it up and makes it very palatable. The candle does have a pretty cool bearing to it. And like I said, a very funky on the bottom. But I have to say that upon it being burned, it definitely became much more warm and much more cozy. So that in the end, the funkiness may still have been there, but it was kind of, I think, eclipsed by that lavender tonka, almost cashmere-like creaminess that I really appreciated. So I thought it was kind of a unique and really nice fragrance. Unfortunately, the strength and throw on it was just terrible. It was terrible. It was one of those candles that you would like burn in your guest bathroom and hope for like a 4 in 4 hours. You know what I mean? I burned this super long in the back bedroom, it's actually a beautiful fragrance for a back bedroom, unlike the Spirit's Call, which needs to possibly be burned outdoors or in your garage. This candle is a beautiful back bedroom scent, and it does have a little bit of coolness and austerity with the lavender that's being used here. And it does have a funky undertone that, again, is a little on the austere, masculine, slightly off-putting side. And some people will just not have the threshold for it. They will not have the openness for this kind of a fragrance. But I do have to say that upon it being burned, it definitely transformed away or leaned away from the really funky aspects and even the coolness, because there's probably amber in here. The amber, the tonka, the lavender, it just became a much more warm and cozy kind of fragrance that I really appreciated. I would have loved if this fragrance was at least at the 5.5 range, if not a 6. This would have really been, I think, a very nice and unique fragrance, and one that they could possibly market in a whole host of different ways, at least the way that it burned rather than the way it smelled on cold. But I just can't recommend it with that kind of strength and throw. I mean, this was just a candle that you're like, why? Why am I even burning this? Why? Why would you make a candle like this in this beautiful jar with all of this thought, with amethyst crystals on top, and a really well executed, like interesting fragrance, and then have no strength and throw? It's like fumbling the ball after, like, I don't know, a long 30, 40-yard run, you know? And then you just fumble it right at the end zone, right? Like, why? Why? All that money, all that time, all that energy, all that just, But unfortunately, this is very much kind of par for the course for like Yankee for sure, but Kringle increasingly this year. So there you go. So those are the 2 Halloween candles I burned, Guardian's Vigil and Spirit's Call. They weren't bad, and I think they were good choices given the range of candles that they gave us this year and my own personal bandwidth when it comes to spooky fragrances. I definitely pushed myself a little bit with both of them, a lot with the Guardian's Vigil. Definitely not the kind of girl that goes for like, 6 Feet Under or, Carnage or something like that. And even like Witch's Cauldron is like a little too scary for me. So I think for me, these were really great choices, and I don't regret them on that level. But again, just undermined by terrible performance. So I don't know what else to say. They are not available. But if you burned, oh my gosh, I've got soot now all over yeah, there must have been some soot there. All right, if you burned either one of those and have thoughts, definitely let me know. Or just thoughts about the Halloween collection in general, thoughts about Kringle, no big deal. Put them down below. And I am gonna try, like I said, to do some recording here. These are the only 2 Kringles I think I have of like the 12 that I've been burning. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 Yankees, gird your loins. Oh my gosh, I've got another one too. It's in the guest bathroom being hate burned as we speak. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Homeworks candles. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I'll try to, sprinkle those throughout this week, and then Oh my gosh, we're at the end of November. If I can get through a good amount of these reviews, we're gonna have a pretty big crate of empties for sure, what with all the coffee candles. So there's that. And I've started getting back on the horse with some Bath & Body Works too. I'm kind of like in my Homeworks era, and I bought like 30 Homeworks like fall candles that I've been trying to get through, but I have ignored Bath & Body Works. And I need to not do that. I just fired up the, oh, my light is gone now. I just burned or fired up the Diwali candle. Diwali, yeah. But I haven't burned enough of it to have like an impression. So that one and the Hanukkah one I definitely need. And then some of these lavender ones, the lavender peppermint, etc. I've heard so many bad things about the lavender and pine. I'm just inclined to return that one, which is too bad because it's such a great concept. But there you go. I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for joining me, and thanks for your patience waiting breathlessly for my return. See you guys.